Hey guys, today I want to share a couple of tips about how to not have cakey makeup. I use these tips all the time, and it's something very basic that I time and time again employ in my makeup routine, but I just wanted to share it in case some of them you've forgotten about or maybe even haven't heard about. Now, this video really stems from a previous video where I was discussing blotting papers and how I prefer blotting papers and how to use blotting papers. What do they do? What are they for? And there I was talking about how to avoid cakey face with blotting papers by, if you have oilier bits on your face, to blot before you powder, and that will prevent cakiness or cakey buildup of powder on your face. And then the powder that lays on top of your skin isn't going to cake up immediately and sort of curdle. So this really inspired me to sort of share a few more tips about avoiding cakey makeup and the sort of things I do to avoid cakey makeup, especially on my dry skin. So tip number one really has to do with moisturization. This is even before your makeup goes on, but it's an important step. I hope we all moisturize before makeup. And I certainly do. And I want to show you the two that I use right now. It's Guerlain Blanc de Perle. SPF 50, this one has a major white cast, but you know, for snow whites like myself, that's fine. For anybody darker than light, that's not going to be good. And then also I'm using the Body Shop Vitamin C Glow Protect Lotion SPF 30. So both of them are fairly high SPFs. Now, what am I going to mention? What I mean about moisturization is, first of all, it's important to moisturize, but I wanted to mention that it's a very good idea to let your moisturizer sink into the top layers of your skin and sort of dry down a little bit before you apply makeup. Because if you apply makeup immediately, then you're not getting the skincare a chance to sort of sink in and prep your skin. It kind of is going to just act as a base and nothing else. Also, on top of it, you're going to be powdering down more greasy products because they didn't sink into your skin completely beforehand, and so that means more powder and more cakiness. Now, once you've waited a few minutes, I usually give it about 10 minutes to sink in before I apply makeup. I like to go in with heavier coverage products. I love doing a BB cream or something super light coverage for sure, and I do that a lot. But if you do have stuff to hide, or if it's a more formal occasion but you still don't want to look like a cake face, I have a couple of solutions. Right now in my hands I have three. So first of all, if you watch my channel, you know my love for this particular product, and this is Benefit Boing Concealer. So the trick here is I have two concealers here to show you guys, and one is the Benefit and one is the Fix It 2-in-1 Prime and Conceal from Dior, and this one's a little dark for me right now. It's in the color 002 Medium. Now, why am I talking about concealers here? Because really, if you want to make your skin look as believably nice as possible, you can definitely go in and conceal anything you need to conceal, be it redness, pimples, under eye circles, whatever, and then not use a foundation at all. In fact, it's important that your concealer actually matches you. This is my winter / all year shade, and this is my summer shade. But it's important that your concealer matches you, and so if it matches you, you can totally conceal the places that you need to, but not touch the skin that doesn't actually need to be concealed. And that is very advantageous, because then your skin, it's concealed, is going to look like skin and not a mask and not a cake face. So key here again is high coverage products in small amounts. So you can get away totally with just wearing a concealer where you need it, or you can go for a full coverage foundation. Also follows the same rule, small amounts of very pigmented products. That goes a long way, and it doesn't create extra texture and layering on your skin. I'm all about layering in skincare and even in makeup, but layering powder products on top of powder products, or heavy thick products and powder on top of it, usually does not produce the nicest look on the skin. So my pick for a fuller coverage foundation is going to be Double Wear Stay in Place Makeup by Estee Lauder. My color is 1M2 Ecru. This is neutral with slightly cooler undertone, but very neutral indeed. This color is not always in stock, but it is a good match for my skin tone. So So the idea here is whatever high coverage foundation you're using, just sheer it out as much as you want. You can build it up or actually apply it on, again, places on your face that need more coverage, and then either leave the rest bare or go with a very thin layer on the places which don't need so much coverage. And the idea here, again, very importantly, to match yourself properly in the concealer or be it the foundation. If you make a perfect match from whichever brand you prefer, it's going to seamlessly blend into your skin, and you will not have to, you know, do what some beauty gurus who do full coverage looks recommend you to do, which is blend the foundation right into your hairline, blend it into your ears, blend it down your neck, blend it everywhere. Like, you shouldn't have to cover your entire body with the foundation for it to look good. Again, this is sort of a TV look or on camera look or photography look. It doesn't work all that well for real life, but if you match yourself properly and you don't have tons of discoloration that you need to basically conceal all over your face, then you're going to be able to get away with a very natural look with certain high coverage products that just match you perfectly. So finding a perfect color match is absolutely a key to not looking like a cake face. Otherwise, you do need to spread your foundation absolutely everywhere so you even yourself out, match your face to your neck, to your ears. If everything kind of matches more or less in the first place, then you really don't have to bother quite as much. The next trick I've borrowed from Wayne Goss some years ago. He talked about it and I've taken it on board, and since then really it has worked super well for me. Again, we're taking our high coverage makeup here. I'm again showing you the Estee Lauder one, and we're adding a tad of a splash of oil, just a drop, for spreadability, to make it look a little bit more natural, to make it settle into the skin with a little bit more hydration. My pick is the Darphin Rose Aromatic Hair, their rose oil, and I just add the tiniest, smallest little amount into the high coverage foundation, say, if I want to sheer it out and make it more skin-like, and that works wonders. Especially, this is a really good trick for the dry-skinned persons like myself. So if you do have dry skin, this is something you can try and do throughout the day. Also, if your foundation ends up looking cakier by the end of the day and you have dry skin and you feel a little dryness, if you have dry skin, you know the feeling, it's just a little tight, then you can take a drop of oil on tips of your fingers and then gently press into your skin at the end of the day just to refresh your makeup. Of course, that's not going to add any coverage, but it'll perk up the texture of your makeup and sort of make it melt again into the skin. And that is also what I do with this guy sometimes. If I wear it for like 17-25 hours, this guy is really has very impressive staying power anyway, so I generally don't even have to do anything. But if I do want to rehydrate, if I'm in a place with really dry air, then you can employ that technique with oil on tips of your fingers and then just patting it into the places that are a little bit on the drier side. And the last tip I wanted to talk about is please avoid over applying powder. These are the two tools I like to use. This is of course just like a stand-in for a very soft fluffy brush that is not too dense, and I have a beauty blender as well. So what is the deal with powder? Powder is the easiest way to make yourself cakey, and as I have mentioned previously, blotting off oil off your face before you powder in the middle of the day before touch-ups basically is a good way to avoid caking makeup on your skin. However, using powder will always have a danger of being a bit cakey. Even the most translucent powder, especially if you do have some oil breakthrough and you haven't blotted it with the blotting sheets, yes, you're probably going to have a bit of cakiness wherever you do apply and over apply the powder. Now, it sort of boggles my mind that people attempt this in real life, and of course, if you want a really full coverage, very much TV-like on camera makeup, then that's the way to go because it looks fantastic. on TV or on the screen, but it doesn't look so great in real life. And I feel like it's the same issue with Instagram makeup and Instagram brows that were floating around a couple years back. And what I'm talking about is baking. So baking is when you apply a very thick layer of setting powder or some kind of translucent or loose powder on an area where you just applied makeup, and you let it sit there for a while, and then you brush it away, like the remainder of whatever didn't sink in, away with a brush. And that looks really good in terms of, it looks very flawless, it looks very doll face like. I've tried that technique, but unfortunately it no longer looks like skin. So the problem becomes is the fact that it just doesn't look like real skin. Real skin has flaws, and if you completely powder it with like a huge layer of makeup like that, of a powder, that's going to make you more prone to dryness, first of all, and secondly, of course, create a thicker layer of product on skin. That's the same idea of using thin layers, very thin layers of very pigmented stuff to conceal whatever you have to conceal, because then you're not adding extra texture that is prone to cracking. Unfortunately, these baking techniques are great for taking some pictures and wearing for a couple of hours, but then it tends to cake up around the nose, cakes up around the eyes, starts crackling, you know, around the brows. Wherever you have movement in your face, and we all move our faces, hopefully, you're going to have the cracking and the uneven wear and just weirdness, and it doesn't look good on skin. So for me, this whole baking thing and over powdering, it looks great for a minute, but then in the long run, it really does not play well with real life, so I never do it. I did it maybe twice for photos when I was I had pictures taken and I wasn't wearing my makeup all day. That's the way to go, because your skin will look amazing. However, for real life, it's not a very good way to wear makeup. It's going to show up, it's going to not wear in a very flattering way most of the time. If you have an exceptionally oily skin, maybe, but if you have exceptionally oily skin, chances are you also have a lot of breakouts and texture in your skin, and it's likely not going to go well for you either. So for me, the overpowdering is a really big no-no if you want to avoid cake face. So the way I like to powder to avoid cakiness, which I'm very prone to because I have dry skin, in fact, is using a very, very fluffy, sort of moldable, not a dense brush, so it doesn't pick up a ton of product. Picking up the smallest amount of either loose powder or a dry setting powder, whatever you're using, and patting it onto your face gently, pressing the powder into your makeup. Right now, of course, I have nothing there. I'm just showing you the movement that I use. And just put the powder where you need it, either wherever you applied the concealer in order to sort of fix it, or wherever you get the shiniest. So a fluffy brush is one way. Also, what one can do is take the very slightly damp beauty blender or whatever beauty sponge you use. I use beauty blender at the moment, and pick up some of your either loose setting powder or a little bit from your pressed compact, just the smallest amount, and then press it again into the skin and wherever you apply either concealer or wherever you get oily. This kind of an application really will shear out the powder and push it into the product that you're wearing. I would probably caution you against the buffing motions that some people do with their powder, unless of course it's a powder foundation and you're buffing it into the skin. Really pressing it into your skin is going to be the most beneficial in terms of wear, will not disturb the layer of concealer or foundation underneath, and also will give you the most natural look. So powder, dose it to